speculating about Carter Cap's delivery and the point of release. We're going to try to freeze it as close as we can as he lunges down the front slope of the mound. That back foot comes off the rubber. He jumps. I mean, the point of release just about in this area, or if you let him follow through, then somewhere almost to the edge of the grass. So if you want to measure from the edge of the grass, maybe 6 inches onto the dirt to home plate, he's cutting it down to about 52 feet, somewhere. Well, yeah, about 52 feet.
We are back. We are back with our baseball episode. Probably one of my favorite episodes. I love doing baseball episodes. As you guys saw with Steve Hofstetter, I could talk baseball all day. So today we're joined by Carter Cap's former Major League relief pitcher. Carter, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you guys having me on.
You have a nice background there. I really like the decor behind you.
Thanks. You can give credit to my wife. Yeah, that's definitely not me.
Same. That's what my pictures of signed baseball players' pictures is. It's not me. It's definitely not me. It's funny because I have this background, and I've been asked when I do Zoom meetings, like I could tilt it up a little bit here. So I used to work for the Red Sox. But as you could tell by my hat I'm wearing, I'm a Yankees fan. Every time
Very conflicted.
They're like, is that Red Sox stuff in your background? I'm like, yeah, I used to work for the Red Sox. Like, but you're a Yankees fan? I was like, well, the Yankees didn't want to give me a job, so here I am. Worked for the Red Sox, so that's how it goes. So, one question. I know you get it all the time, so I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm sure you get your pitching motion question constantly, your delivery. We're not going to talk too much about it. We've done our research and we know that, everything behind. But one thing I couldn't find. How did you even start doing it?
Yeah, so I've been pretty hammered on. But yeah, I had some UCL sprains. So it was just like really sore in my elbow and just really couldn't get back up to the velocity that I was used to throwing. So I was like, oh, I'll just add more legs, like the old school like coaching mentality. Oh, just use your legs more. And so I started trying to get really like linear down the mound, and it just got like really excessive. But like the velo was great, so like nobody wanted me to change it, and I was getting guys out. So like it kind of progressed organically through that avenue. But yeah, definitely not something I would like encourage other guys to do. But yeah.
But when you first started it, did like your coach say like, hey, that's not legal, or keep doing that? That's legal. You're going to get a lot of calls on it, but it's legal.
Yeah, there was no like legality question or anything. It was just like you're getting out, so like keep doing it. Yeah, and then the rule came out afterwards. But yeah.
How's that feel being someone that changed the rules basically?
Not too good when you're on this end of it. But yeah, I guess I appreciate like the consideration.
Now, something good about the delivery is you were named in David Ortiz's top 5 toughest pitchers he's ever faced. How's that feel being in that list that had like Mariano on it and all these like Hall of Famers, and then you're on there as one of the toughest guys he's ever faced?
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciated the shout out there. He definitely didn't have to do that, but like it wasn't fun facing him either. So I definitely give some kudos back that way. But yeah, no, it was a blast. Like I said, I got to face a lot of big name guys, so the whole journey was pretty cool. So I appreciate the shout out for sure.
Yeah, you're trying to tell me it was not easy facing a future Hall of Famer? That's crazy. That's crazy to talk about.
Awesome. And then so you made the transition from a starter to a relief pitcher in college. And was that a hard transition for you? Not as far as performance goes, but like mentally going from being a starter to a relief. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I was a starter in college, and then in professional baseball, I transitioned into a reliever. But yeah, no, it was just kind of like take the reins off, I guess. Like I didn't have to like worry about pitch count. I didn't have to worry about like, okay, I really need to get 6 innings, 7 innings, save the bullpen here. It was like, no, like strike everybody out and like go out there like in a super like aggressive attack mindset. So I took to that much more than like the starter. Like I enjoyed the game planning of starting, third time through the order, got to show them something different. But it definitely is more fun to just kind of like, I guess, take the regulator off and just like go attack guys and your best stuff like right out the gate.
Is that why when starters move to the bullpen, you see such a high jump in velocity? You'll see guys throwing somewhere in the mid 90s, but when they come out of the bullpen, they're gassing at 100. It's because it's just come in, strike guys out, and use what you got in that short amount of time.
Yeah, I think part of it is like an mindset, mentality change. But yeah, I think that's largely it. Like, you don't have to worry about like going the distance. Like, it's like, I have to get you out now. I don't need to set you up for, the second time through the order. Like, I need you out now. Like, you're getting my O2 stuff like right out the gate if you got runners in scoring position. Like, that's kind of the, like, I guess, attack mindset.
And so the first ever out you made was against Derek Jeter. Do you ever look back on your career and think of like huge moments like that?
Not really. I mean, I definitely, like, in the moment, it kind of like is just a whirlwind, and it kind of like just blows past you. But like, I just like look at it as like one collective, like, oh, like, notch on my belt. Like, it's something I set out to do when I was like a really young kid. Like, I wanted to be in the major leagues, and I just accomplished that, and I just like appreciated all my time there. I guess I don't really look back at like specific moments. I think like as you're further away from the game for longer, like kind of like turns into one like just the one like giant memory of like a slideshow, I guess, in your head of like, oh yeah, no, I had some really cool experiences. Like, I saw like I was there for Felix Hernandez perfect game. That was pretty cool. Just like a lot of like little like experiences like that.
I wish I could have that mentality of like, yeah, I got out Ortiz and Jeter. That's just a notch on the belt. That's that's just me just doing my thing. If I did that, if I got anybody out, I could get any batter out in Major League Baseball. I'd be talking about it for the rest of my life to everyone I've ever spoke to, ever.
Oh, I'm sure it'd be awesome to be around you all the time.
Yeah. I played.
Remember that time I got out Mike Trout?
Yeah. That time I got Mike Trout out. Oh yeah, that was great, wasn't it? Look at this
Yeah.
highlight reel of the one play I did. This is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I definitely would do that. I do that with the interviews I've done. Like, yeah, I interviewed this guy.
Chris has his own highlight reel. And so you had Tommy John surgery, just to kind of switch up a little bit, in 2016. What does that feel like? You talked about having some UCL issues, but you did have the Tommy John surgery. And what feeling do you have where like something is wrong? What did that feel like?
Yeah, so for me, it was like a chronic thing. I had like a couple partial tears, so it's like one of those things. Like, if you have these partial tears and you're throwing really hard, a lot of outings, like, you're eventually like, like, you're not gonna have a good experience with it. Eventually, you can't go on like that forever. So I ended up having two like PRP injections and UCL, like for in the UCL. But after that, I did have surgery, and it's like it's not what it used to be. So like you feel pretty confident, like, okay, I can get out of this. Like, people have done it. It's going to be a long road, and it's definitely like the long game, but people have come back from it and done fine. So like, there is that hope. Whereas I also had thoracic outlet, and that's way more of a, okay, like, here's a crapshoot. Don't know how you're going to feel after this. So those were kind of very different things going on.
So speaking of Tommy John surgery, I feel like even 20 years ago, it wasn't as common of it. Do you think it's because of the high velocity, or is it because of how it's 24/7 round the clock, 365 for these pitchers, and they're just throwing all the time?
Yeah, so I think more, as long as you have the proper workload, you're going to be in a better situation. Like, I guess misconception right now in like professional baseball is like, okay, I threw a lot of innings during the season, so I should throw as little as possible during the off season to rest. And like, in your head, that sounds like a good idea, but it would be like equivalent to, oh, I'm a marathon runner, and then I take 3 months off, and then I go try and run a marathon. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to build that workload back up. I think just like an education base there would be huge. Understanding like chronic workload and building it up over time to prepare. So like, the season is kind of like, okay, I just coast, instead of it feels like this huge undertaking. But yeah, also like specialized athletes, right? Like, we got guys with like 6'7" guys throwing, 100 miles an hour. Like, that's a lot of levers. That's a lot of stress on tiny ligaments. So, I mean, you're going to see that, but we're also much better at diagnosing it now. I mean, like, in, 30 years ago, like, just the imaging technology wasn't nearly as good. Like, you couldn't say, oh yeah, you got a partial tear versus 80% tear. Like, it's just, we're way more advanced than we used to be. So I think diagnosing, along with guys just throwing harder.
Yeah, I've noticed, like, I had an argument with an old coach. By the way, if you're wondering like, wow, this guy sounds like he coaches baseball, or he works with baseball. Well, he works with Driveline Baseball, and he's working on with new stats and technology to really get it deep into this stuff. That's why he sounds like he does it, because that's what he does. I always had this argument with a coach of mine who's a very old school baseball guy, and he would say like, this guy used to throw 100, or this guy used to throw this, and he didn't have to work all season and stuff like that, and he never got hurt, or this guy never got hurt. And I'm like, the difference is there's more guys getting hurt because there's more guys throwing 100 miles an hour now.
Yeah.
Even 20 years ago that they weren't throwing 100 miles an hour. Of course, you're going to see a lot of these hard throwers getting hurt, but the best ones in the game, they're not really getting, like, you don't really hear well, now Jacob deGrom gets hurt more often, but you didn't really hear when he was winning. I mean, was that 2 years ago? He's been signing Youngs back to back, but these guys that are the best of the best, Max Scherzers of the world, they're not getting hurt every 10 minutes, but it's so many guys are throwing 100 miles an hour now. That's why you're seeing so many of these 100-mile-an-hour guys getting hurt. It's not like
I would
30
say
years ago.
Yeah, I would say there's also like some survivorship bias, right? Like the reason Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw is because they've had these long careers where they didn't really get hurt. Like,
yeah.
So that's why they're household names. Like, whereas like I played with guys that threw 100 miles an hour that you don't know their name. Like, and they could have been great, but like they had injuries or whatever. So it's like which one is causing it, right? Like, yes, the injuries are there, but also like we know these guys because they're crazy efficient. They have maybe slightly better genetics. I mean, Jacob deGrom did have Tommy John earlier, but so it's a little bit of both, right? Like we know their names because they've had these great careers for so long and they do throw so hard, but at the same time, like there's a ton of guys that aren't that situation,
Yeah, I mean, even if you go back, I'm sure there were guys throwing maybe not 100, but they were the high throwers back 30, 40 years ago that just same thing. They got hurt and never really made it, but you didn't hear about that. So I always had this argument, and it's like you're hearing so many of these 100-mile-an-hour throwers getting hurt because there's just every bullpen is stacked with 100-mile-an-hour throwers. You don't really see the 90-mile-an-hour place it here, place it there guy anymore, and that's why you see so many of them get hurt. So now you work with Driveline Baseball. Can you tell us a little bit about what Driveline is?
Yeah. So like I would say in its base form, it's like a player development company, like private, obviously. And they do a really good job of developing guys for like all different levels. So like we'll have high school guys, we'll have like college guys, we'll have minor league, and then all the way up to professional. And then we'll have like some all-stars, like MLB all-stars coming too. So like we are all over the board. And it's just like in its base form, it's like, yeah, we're going to try and get you better at whatever you do and use some data to kind of back up what we're saying. We're not just going to like throw a bunch of stuff on the wall and see what sticks. Like we're going to have a process that we go about to attack it.
And with how the world is today with COVID and stuff like that, how has that changed how you guys do things at Driveline?
Yeah, a lot more like virtual stuff, I would say, like this. Like I'll be doing a lot of meetings. Guys will, that have come in and done the mocaps, like we'll, have Zoom meetings and talk about it. So like I've gotten really good at like pulling up the like little skeleton and everything. You can see on some like my Twitter content and stuff, but like, and basically just showing them what they do, but it's just from afar instead of, in person, like we've been doing. And then like a lot of it's just guys have poor throwing programming. So making sure that we give them a throwing program and that we check in that they're actually doing it right. And that's kind of the benefit of some of the technology. Like we have Modus, so we can like track how many throws the guy actually makes without being there. So that's really nice. Like I rely on that pretty heavily if I'm not in gym, because like I need to know if it was supposed to be a light day. Was it actually light, or did you get a little carried away because your buddy was throwing hard and like we went too much? Like, because now we got to push back our heavy day because we're not going to just keep like hammering you with intent. So that is definitely a different world, but kind of embracing it, I would guess.
Yeah. So to do it on virtual, they'd have to. It must be weird. They have to send you basically a video of what they're doing, I'd imagine, right? Like they have to record their entire session, send it to you so you can see what they're doing and count everything up. And coaching just has to be in a weird state right now outside of, professionally, because there's just not much you could do.
Yeah, you get really good at video breakdowns because you got to, right? Like, So you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I need like 2 or 3 more camera angles so I can see like, oh, did we get scap retraction and hip shoulder separation? Because like I can't see it in like from one plane, I can't see it all. So it's like, oh, can you do like an overhead view? Or So I'm like asking for all these crazy video positions.
Now, if someone's trying to get into the Driveline, can they request a coach, or do they just get matched up with a coach? How does like that kind of system work? Because I know some places you can request coaches, you see them online, and sometimes they just kind of give what you get what you give.
Yeah, usually if we like have a like a relationship with the guy, like, well, we get like that guy. Like I've played with some guys that I end up coaching just because like I have that I guess rapport with them already. But for the most part, if you come in, you get assigned a coach. For like the general population guys, like you come in, you get a coach, and they're all really good. So you're not gonna like get screwed over with like this guy that knows what he's talking about or something.
And now, how would someone get involved with Driveline?
As a player, yeah, you can just contact our CR, which is online. Like you can find the number pretty easy. Just customer relations at Driveline Baseball, and yep, you can call in and hopefully get scheduled for something.
Is this only based in Washington, or are there other facilities across the country?
Yeah, so they're doing some pop-up places in some other cities to kind of like get like I guess drive a little bit more interest, but also I think right now we're trying to push towards like a permanent shop in like Arizona and Florida and Texas potentially. So it's kind of the goal long term, I guess.
With it being virtual, though, say someone from New York wanted to do it. I mean, they could probably sign up, I'd imagine, right? Because it's all virtual anyway. You're doing it on your own and then sending it to the coaches.
Yeah, our online training is pretty big, especially right now. I think we probably have like 200-300 guys in online training. And that's just strictly like, hey, like send us whatever video you can. As soon as we can get you in for a motion capture, which is like the biomech, like all the little electrode sensors all over you. We're going to do that and break down your mechanics. But until then, like we're just going to hammer you with like strength programming, throwing programming, and we're going to get you in a good spot. So like worst case scenario, you have a good base level of baseball fitness.
Are there without COVID, is there an online and an in-person program, or is the online program strictly made because of COVID?
No, there was always online. Yeah, we've done that. It's just easier because like we're far northwest, obviously, so it's like hard for some guys on the East Coast to get out here. So yeah, we've done that a lot, and then we all offer like certifications to coaches and stuff. So like a coach can come in and like get certified, and then go out and like kind of teach the program to like his whatever team, 1400 team or whatever.
Yeah, so when you get all these guys coming through the program, what is the interest level you see? Is it about becoming a better baseball player, or is it getting to the next level? What do you see as far as like the spread of what people's goals are with Driveline?
Yeah, it's almost always getting to the next level of something. I mean, obviously, some guys are coming in, and their next level is never going to be like the major leagues, but their next level is going to be like, oh, I want to be a starter in varsity, like, and that's like totally fine. And we're like, okay, like, how do we get you like to be a starter in like your high school team? Like, okay, like, what do you need to throw? Okay, you probably need to throw around 85 miles an hour to be like at a good like starter in a good varsity team. So it's like, okay, like we're gonna get you there. We're gonna get your pitch shaped right, so you can compete at your level, and then hopefully like one level above. But yeah, and then some guys, it's like we're dealing with, like I said, like perennial all-stars, and it's like they have like two things that are just slightly inefficient, and we're just trying to get like that fifth gear. So it's like they're already like great, but like we're just trying to get them like either sustain the greatness for longer, or just get them to that fifth gear that maybe like as they age, they're not quite able to get to where they were previously. Or like a lot of times guys stuff, like especially with sliders, we see the slider shape will just change over the course of time because it's such a finicky pitch, right? Like you're throwing the outside of the ball, and like depending on if you're underneath it on top, like it gets more depth, it gets a little bit more cuttery, it gets a little bit sweepier and a little slower. So like, and guys just they won't, for whatever reason, they often don't like monitor their arsenal as they age and as the season progresses. So we do a lot of like arsenal analysis and stuff like that.
And one last question before we wrap up. How did you get involved with Driveline?
Yeah, so towards the end of my career, when I was trying to like figure out how to not throw the way I was throwing, so I could still play, I came out and just trained there and really liked what they were about, and just like took about a year off and like, you know what, I really miss baseball. I want to get back into coaching. These guys know what they're doing. Like they're best at what I'm worst at, right? Like I was worst at the data stuff. So it's like, okay, how do I get better at that? Well, I'll just go to the placed as the best in the world at that and learn as much as I can. And now I feel like that's one of my strengths actually, as well as like the baseball background. So just kind of trying to turn one of my weaknesses into strengths. So.
Gotcha. And you've grown a lot after your time. For anyone who's out there is looking to make it in baseball, do you have any advice for them going forward?
Join Driveline.
Join Driveline.
As a player, a coach, or what?
Let's say as a player. Now that you offer me options, I'd like both, but let's say as a player first.
Yeah, I would say as a player, like you just gotta like really trust. Like first off, you gotta have like good like education. So like even if your coach at your school or whatever isn't very good, like it's on you. There's so many free resources. Like Driveline puts out a ton of blogs and stuff. Like it's up to you to like learn what is actually gonna fit. And then just like attack the process. And it's like, it's not going to be like pretty and it's not going to be like linear, right? It's going to be bouncy and like, you just got to ride the waves. But understand that it is a process, and like whether like a lot of guys aren't very strong. Like, and to throw really hard, you got to be, you got to move well, but you got to be really strong too. And you got to move fast. And it's like if for some guys that haven't worked out, it's like your velocity is like in the gym. Like that's where your velocity is. Like if you want to throw harder, like get in better shape. And then it's like, okay, if a guy has like a movement deficiency or something, we'll attack that. But yeah, I would say just like education, honestly, for both the coaches as well. Like if you want to be like I don't have any aspirations to be like the 10th best coach in the world. Like I want to be the best coach in the world. Like, so like I'm going to like learn as much as I can and just try and be the best coach in the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. That was great.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.